Yeah, as I said, straight after the game, has been a good feeling for different reasons. First of all, because the initial picture was not the perfect one for us, 2-0 down after 10 minutes. And then because it's a derby for the fans, and also because in terms of points, 3 points, they were so important in that moment. So the reason why we were so happy is for many reasons.
And I know that you personally don't want to get carried away with talking titles and being in the race, but you have been part of setups that have done it. So at what point will you allow yourself, or do you change the narrative?
The good thing is that I like to think on the day by day. So in which moment something can change, I don't know. I don't know. The main focus for me is and it's not something that I say because I have to say that. It's because I really think that. Because it's the only way to improve me and to improve the players. It's just focus on what we can do better. In terms of training session, improve players and improve the team. This is the only main focus for me. And then in which moment we can think in something different, I don't know.
I mean, you've been part of sides that have gone on to win titles. Do you remember those moments when you're going day to day and then suddenly you think, yeah, this is on?
Yeah, absolutely. You can smell that, you can feel that, and probably this is the reason why I said we are not ready, because we don't feel that and we don't smell that in this moment. As I said, hopefully soon we can be there, but in this moment, this is one of the reasons why I think we are not there. And also because I like to convince myself and convince the player that the only way to fight for something or to compete for something is just to be focused on the day by day. Because when you start to think about in 2 days, 3 days, 1 month, 2 months, it's the beginning of the bad time. You know?
And can you just confirm whether or not Marc Cucurella did throw those boots away?
I saw the picture. They sent me the picture. Seriously, I did, because after the game, I had a chat with the players, a speech with the players, and then straight with you for the press conference. And then after the game, on the way back to Kobamir, they showed me the picture from Marc. But he said to me straight after the game that he was just trying to give more emotion to the game, no more than that.
Best place for them, yeah?
Exactly.
And I just wonder how many people, I mean, you did it yourself, you threw in a bit of a slide gag in your post-match. I wonder how much grief he's been getting this week. Has he been slid into a few times?
No.
We know you're pranksters, you're all pranksters, and players can't wait to take the mickey.
Jokes with Marc about what happened.
Yeah.
You said it yourself. You said like if they slip up.
Yeah, no. Yeah, straight after game, I took one of the no football shoes, normal shoes, and I said, guys, this was the Marc shoes. So it was because of the final result after the game was quite a funny moment. But I think the first one that he knew that he was wrong is Marc. But sometimes can happen.
The other highlight from the game was undoubtedly Cole Palmer's penalty. You watch it and you watch it again and you watch it and you go, wow. You get to see that day in, day out. How privileged do you feel that you've got somebody of that level of talent, that you are that close, that you have the opportunity of moulding to be one of the best players in the world?
Yeah. I agree with you. I feel very proud or privileged, to work with Cole. I feel quite lucky, to be honest, to work with all of them, because for sure Cole is different one from the rest. But here we have many good players. Where a manager, in this case me, I feel happy and I feel proud to work with them.
I mean, you've clearly worked with a lot of very, very talented players, but I think what's so fascinating about Cole is the other side of him. This personality that just seems so different, so ice cold, so unflustered.
Yeah, but if you see many big players, many top players, they are in that way. You know, they look almost that they don't care about nothing. But then at the end, it's because they are in that way. But for sure they care, and probably being in that way give them more, I don't know, freedom or relax, and you can see Cole exactly in the same way. I said he was exactly in this way 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and he's still the same.
Taking a few managers and all that, and they also had a few players out. I think it seems now it's more balanced squad. So well done for everyone who's been involved there. Maresca have done a top job so far with his coaching staff, and they look extremely dangerous.
They look extremely dangerous, says Thomas Frank. Arne Slot today was talking about Chelsea, saying they were the only team that Liverpool faced where he thought they were the better side. As much as Enzo Maresca doesn't want to admit it, as much as he's trying to keep it out of the public eye, his team are in this title race, very much so.
They're 4 points behind, so of course they are. I don't know how long it will last, and we can look again in January and in March and in April, and if by then they're 10, 12, okay, maybe, but if they're still 4 or less, or maybe slightly more, they will be in it. And as long as it lasts, I can't understand why people say, nah, they're not in the title race. They are, very much. They are the second best team in the league. They're the best attack.
Yeah.
They are the attack that you feel so even more than Liverpool can score any time. They've got a genius in Cole Palmer. And yet they're young, they make mistakes at the back. I think the expected against in the last 5 or 6 games is higher than how many goals they actually conceded, really. So there's still a lot of work to be done more defensively. But of course they're there.
I think the thing that's scary is that whereas Cole Palmer used to run the show and they could be accused of being a one-man team, everyone else has stepped up under Maresca. You've got Jadon Sancho scoring in back-to-back Premier League games for the first time. You have Fernandes, who's suddenly adding as well. They've got a lethal-looking bench.
Yep.
And he has the option of playing a different team in Europe in midweek, where others are, you know, dealing with the fixture schedule. He can play different teams.
He can. There was a lot about that in the summer, of course, when they had so many players. I think that's probably the part of the job which I think has been most impressive, is that he's managed to filter through those players and find the ones he does want within the first team environment. They are very young, but at the same time, you know, they're living on that high of this momentum, and that's what his job is as the manager, is to keep them on that high. And when maybe 1 or 2 drop off, he knows he's got the depth to say, don't worry, you know, we can change it. It's still fresh. I can use players, even, you know, the likes of, I think Mudryk was probably a player that you weren't sure how much longer he potentially was going to be there, if he wasn't going to start contributing in the goals and the assists. I feel like he's felt like a different player in the last couple of months. Madueke, Jackson, Neto. They've just so many good players that just... Exactly, and they've got that nice stability, I think, in the midfield. He's mentioned before, I think, you know, Enzo was struggling behind. He mentioned about fitness. That, I think, spurred him on, so now you've got competition in the midfield. It feels a very healthy place at the moment.
Yeah, and I think mentally as well, against Spurs, even at 2-0 down, yes, we can say what we want to about Spurs and the way they played and should have managed the game. We'll talk about them later. Yeah. But to come back and to win this game, ultra impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. They never panicked, really. And again, we knew that Spurs being so attacking all the time would play into Chelsea's hands as well. But we can't underestimate how difficult it is in the Premier League to be 2-0 down away from home after 15 minutes and go and win the game 4-2. This is how good they are. I agree with you on the sense that last season, and Pochettino said it himself, which was really stupid, but he said this is Cole Palmer's team. Nobody is ever a one-player team. This is not possible, not at this level. But now it's far more structured, and I did wonder at the start of the season if Cole Palmer would be as effective in a much more structured team than when you just give him the ball and go and do your magic like he did last season. And it's probably even better because there's more options around him, there's a better structure, tactically they know what they do. And Caicedo was saying that last season it was all about running with Pochettino, and Pochettino was a terrible, really, season. But this season it was a lot about tactic, a lot about patterns of play, a lot about understanding each, etc. And Maresca for that was so good. Everything basically that Pochettino wasn't last season.
Yeah, I think what's also really, really impressive is the number of players who are contributing goals. They are the top scorers in the league at the moment. And when there are multiple outlets for goals, it's always going to be a danger because, as we saw, even at 2-0 down against a rival London team, they're not out of it.
No, not at all. But I think that also, I think, is one of the benefits of having youthful players. You find they have that little edge about them, that confidence, and it's that competitive environment in training, and that then can lead into the games, and you keep building on that momentum. I think it becomes something that then becomes even more difficult to stop, and I think that's why they're in the position they're in. I think you probably hope that he's prepared for the moment when perhaps they don't play well. Inevitably that will happen. Inevitably there will become that game when they don't get the result. It'll be then about how you get the right reaction from that. And sometimes that's where the youthfulness sometimes can be trickier to manage, because you maybe don't have as many experienced ones that have that calmness.
Yeah, and you can understand why, as you just mentioned, the youthful players, many of them, I think when they talk about title contenders and who's really going to challenge Liverpool, the only reason why Chelsea are maybe not considered or were not considered is the experience factor.
Yeah, because I think in the past, you see, normally it's a blend. Normally there's a few more senior players or more experienced players throughout the team that just give you that little bit of balance, because you do need that experience in the moment. Right now, as we've said, they're flying high. They know they're scoring 3-4 goals often. It's when you get in those sticky moments, sometimes you just need that experience to shine through. But that's also on the manager to find a way.
Absolutely. Sorry about that. I just want to talk about Brentford because it's Jekyll and Hyde football for them. Love that term. At home, like, incredible, amazing. And then away from home, totally different.
Terrible. And maybe it's the fact, and I don't want to take anything away from them, from that home form.
Yes.
They are yet to play pretty much all the big boys, you know, and they will have, I think, Liverpool, City and Arsenal coming to the GTEC Stadium in the next 3 weeks or something. So we'll know a bit better. But you're right, at home, in that stadium, with what they're trying to do, they've been pretty incredible. Wissa and Bomo, even Shadow recently. And away from home, they struggle a bit more, even defensively, under that kind of pressure. But they have a great record against Chelsea, haven't they? They haven't lost in the last 5 against them. I think it's 3 wins in a row at Stamford Bridge even. So Thomas Frank clearly has the recipe to upset Chelsea. But again, the ones that he's beaten were different Chelsea than this one.
Yeah, I was looking at the stats because I like that Jekyll and Hyde football term. But at home, they've won 6. I love it. I'm going to say it one more time, Jekyll and Hyde football. Because at home, they've won 6 and drawn 1, and then away, they've lost 6 and drawn 1. It's amazing symmetry. Probably not as impressive for Thomas Frank.
It will only last until the weekend, because obviously then, whatever they do...
Oh, can't wait for your predictions later then. Obviously led by Johan Wissa and Brian Mbeumo, who 58% of Brentford's goals have been scored by the two of them. 9 goals each, only 1 away from home each.
Yeah, I mean, the record alone, though, is incredible. And they're two players who have an incredible talent. You know, the eye for goal they both have is remarkable. And it's, you know, for Thomas Frank, you have to say he's got the best out of them since obviously Ivan Toney left. And everyone wondered, you know, where would the goals come? And he obviously knew. He said, don't worry about it. The form away from home is something where I think, though, they do need to probably be a little bit more stringent in how they approach those games, because you don't benefit from your home fans sort of giving you that extra edge, and there will be more times in games often when you're away from home you suffer a little bit more. So I think there's probably an element of Thomas Frank is the way he likes to play on the road. I think they need to probably be a little bit more difficult to play against, and ultimately they give teams too many good opportunities.
Wissa and Mbeumo being French, I mean, I think it helps to be so brilliant. And Wissa is even Paris born and bred, which I think, you know, outside of the handsomeness, it's also the talent comes from there.
Yeah, I think we claim them for Africa. I'm good with that. We claim them for Africa.
We can share them.
Already looks like there's a bit of a gap opening at the bottom of the table. Mina Rizuki is here, Sean Wright-Phillips is here. It feels very strange not to be starting by talking about Manchester City, Liverpool or Arsenal in terms of the title
Chelsea,
race, because because the big winners of the weekend are Chelsea.
Yeah, and it was quite impressive in the end, because when you consider the 2 mistakes they made to concede the goals, you know, you look at Chelsea now and you feel like offensively it seems like it's really in order. There's so much going on. I thought Jadon Sancho as well was very good. Obviously Cole Palmer's doing his great stuff, but like it's defensively. And they just need professionally to tighten up everything. I think now Chelsea, if they can get, for me, a goalkeeper, a top goalkeeper, I thought Ramsdale would have been perfect for him, but hey, and that Thiago Silva, experienced centre-half, then I think Chelsea are very much in this fight, without a doubt. They're in the fight now, but really in the fight with that, because for me, they've got everything. Even when they went 2 down, I think a couple of seasons ago, that Chelsea kind of collapse under Potter, maybe under Potter, whoever it is, they completely fall away. But like that Chelsea team, so strong mentally.
Yeah, that's what I think is interesting about what's happening under Enzo Maresca, is that every week it's maybe a different style of challenge and we're learning something new about them. And then that game yesterday at Tottenham, again, was something different for them to overcome.
Yeah, it was very, very different in many ways. And in many ways, Cucurella's lucky it was Maresca who was the manager, because if it was Mourinho, the chances are he would have been subbed. He believed in him, gave him the faith, gave him the trust. He subbed his boots and he came on.
By the way, very similar pair on.
I think the other ones had blades on, from what I'm hearing, and these one, he went more...
You know the thing with that, Kels, people would think that it's like, it's unfortunate. That is what you are doing the warm-up for. Yeah. So there's no way, if he's moving and slipping that much, then the warm-up, he couldn't have been stable. Those are the kind of things that, like Enzo Maresca mentioned, those things will cost you.
I don't think they're blades.
And even that, Dan, you say like he couldn't have been like... I don't think that means in the warm-up. He wasn't moving sharp enough. Because he isn't testing
those boots.
And they got punished, unluckily, but the 2 finishes were well taken.
They are
in the bin, aren't they?
Well, not good for their sponsors.
That's the thing. The big losers of the weekend were Cucurella's boot sponsors. They'll be furious about that. But look, he changed his boots, didn't slip for the rest of the game. And actually, he only gave the ball away twice in the first half. There was only, I think, one other player who did better than that. And both occasions, they led to the goal. So it was unfortunate in a way.
I mean, how unlucky.
For Cucurella. It was the position that he was in. It was the fact that Spurs were able to capitalise on it. But overall, Chelsea's performances, week in, week out, are improving, broadly speaking, and they are starting to suggest that they're the real deal, even if not for this season, then definitely going forward.
What's the youngest team in the league at the moment? And when you think about the fact that we all sort of laughed about the fact that they had all the squad depth, you know, that they had bought so many players, how are they going to fit them all the memes about them working out in the gym because they just didn't have enough room. And actually, at a time when everyone needs squad depth, they've got it. So they can replace players so perfectly. I think the fact that you've got a coach who knows how to tinker with the side when he notices straight away where Badiashile needs to be, where Caicedo needs to move, and how he can correct what was wrong in the setup, then that is a masterstroke. That is what his secret weapon is. But yes, Chelsea are looking strong. They have that fight back. They have the players that are now showing why we paid a lot of money for them at the time, why they paid a lot of money for them. And are they the team that's going to run Liverpool the closest, or is this going to be a temperamental side? Because it is a young side. And so you wonder... And honestly, my mouth dropped when I realised that they've got the 3rd strongest defence. I mean, we look at them and they're so open, and yet actually they haven't conceded as much as we thought.
This is what I mean in respect of an experienced centre-half to shepherd it now, to tell people... You know, like, for instance, even Badiashile's pass back to Cole, it's the kind of thing that triggers Kells. That triggers the press, Sean, because you know it's bouncing to him. He's going to at least need to take a touch. So that will trigger someone else to say, right, I'll close him. So then he's going to have to give him a ball that he's not ready for. And so so we can push them in there. And that's exactly what happened. So those are the things that you want an experienced player to tell you. Everything has to be sharp at that stage of the game, especially if you're going to go for the big trophies. I think with Chelsea... They're well ahead of schedule. They're probably trying to get themselves from Conference League to the Premier League, to the Champions League. That's what they're probably focusing on more than anything for me. And when you look at the 2 teams as well, it's almost like a B team and an A team. So what would be interesting, Kels, is if they start going out of those competitions, then how do you keep everybody happy in that respect?
I think he'll do it the same way. I think what he's done is he's created a little thing within the squad that if you want to play on the weekend, you have to be at this height. Sancho waited these times. Every time he's got his chance, he's shown why he should be starting, and he plays in that Spurs game. And for me, if Cole Palmer doesn't score 2 goals, he would be my man of the match. Or player of the match, I should say, sorry. So I think what that's helped is a lot for Cole Palmer, because now the ball doesn't always go to Cole Palmer. So now you have to worry about Jadon Sancho. Not only Jackson's runs in behind, but now they've got Neto, who's going to cause you loads of problems. And for me, as soon as Lavia got a hold of that midfield, I reckon after about 15, 20 minutes, that's when, for me, the game started changing, when he started popping those balls between the lines to the players that can hurt you.
He had a really good first-half performance, Lavia. Brought off at half-time because he said he was feeling something in his hamstring, but he had... We'll come on to the red card incident in a second, but he had taken a knock to the head as well. But even when you look at Lavia and the way that Maresca's managing to get him and Caicedo in, so he's playing him in at right back, then he's getting Enzo Fernandez a bit further forward. So it feels like those three players were never going to fit in an 11 together, and yet he's found a way for that to happen.
Yeah, it fits at the moment because obviously Caicedo can go in and invert in there. But it'd be interesting to see if they do get a winger that's up against someone like Caicedo, then how they're going to deal with that. Because obviously you're able to fit Caicedo, Lavia and Enzo in. Enzo can get forward like we saw him get forward.
Do what they did at half-time and put Malagusto
in there.
Do you think he plays that way because he knows Son's strongest is his right foot? So he's naturally going to cut in, whereas Caicedo's comfortable coming inside.
Good point. Yeah, that could be the one as well.
Might be in a tactical thing.
I like what you did there. I like what you did there.
But the point is that they've got the option. It might not be that it's one or the other. Yeah. It might be either or, just depending on the situation. It's something that and it might even change during the course of a game.
It may do, but what they've seen is that's something that they can definitely do against certain teams. If you maybe different wingers, or you might need to change that because someone, let's say Diaz, you're playing up against Diaz in Liverpool, he's going to go both ways and cause problems. Then Caicedo's got more of a defensive right-back problem. And, but if he's able to invert and play and then they're able to cover, it looks very stable. Looks very stable.
If we're going to qualify that Chelsea win, and there will be much excitement, and they were deliriously happy at the final whistle because it's Tottenham and because they'd been 2-0 down in the game as well. But if we are going to qualify it, do we look at the fact that two of their goals were penalties, that they could have had a player, so too could Tottenham, could have had a player sent off in the game, Caicedo, who would have been, who was instrumental in a lot of those big decisions in the match. Do we just need to temper it slightly, do you think?
I think that's a fair point to make, considering the fact that when we sit here and most people are very happy to be critical of Tottenham, but then realise that it's only a 1-goal margin and that could have easily have happened. But I think overall, when you watch the match, Chelsea were the better team. They had the control over the game, and you thought that they had the opportunities to create something a little bit more than Tottenham that seemed to be in and out of the game at times, and that's been the problem with that. Whereas Chelsea are that consistent side. When they celebrate it, it's with all their heart. You're seeing a lot of grit, a lot of fight.
Yes.
And that's not necessarily something that I would have said that we've seen before in Chelsea in a while now. And so having, reclaimed those emotions right now and looking at the way that their performers are playing at the moment, you would say that actually, even when they were 2-0 down, there was always this hope for you that they were going to win that. Yeah. And I think that the performance, more than the result early on, showed you that perhaps they were the team that should win this.
Yeah.
One last word before we leave the sort of Chelsea side of things, which is on Cole Palmer and the coolness, the composure to score the second penalty of the game with a Panenka.
Beautiful.
He said he just saw that the keeper was ready to dive, so he thought,
you know what?
I'm going to go.
I just love it because I just don't think I would ever do a penalty. I'd take a penalty like that.
I definitely would.
I would not take it, and then in front of everybody as well like that. And then for him to do it, probably in the moment where he just felt it, is probably the way to do it because obviously you could totally trust your ability. But it was so out of the blue for me that he was going to take that penalty. But it was beautiful and magical to watch. It went in so slow, I thought that Fraser could have turned around and caught it.
He was embarrassed that if he did turn
and try it, it would have looked really bad. But it was a beautiful way to end, especially with everything that was going on with them, throwing all the stuff at him and him smiling and laughing. It's beautiful. That's the way you answer.
And now he is the most successful penalty taker in the Premier League because he's scored all 12 of the penalties that he's taken. That's the longest 100% record.
Brilliant.
Well, I thought you were coming in on that. I thought you were.
It was interesting because they asked
him. He brought it up with a Panenka.
They asked him about who he would want to take a penalty to save his life, and I wish he could have said it himself. But he said Mario Balotelli at the time.
Yeah. Well, obviously he'd probably watched a lot of Mario Balotelli when he was younger, and Mario Balotelli's a maverick. You know what I mean? And the way he took the penalties,
always calm.
You're the only Italian player to have a Premier League winners' medal. Wow. There have been other Italian players in Premier League winning teams, but they haven't played enough games to get a winner's medal. Mario Balotelli, the only Italian player to have one. Oh, nice. Just as an aside, before we move on to Tottenham, because you mentioned Fraser Forster there in terms of the penalty, but we should remember that Spurs don't have their first choice goalkeeper in there, and they brought back Mickey van der Ven, surprisingly, from injury. Romero was back, maybe a bit, that was predicted that he would be returning from injury as well, but it has been a makeshift Spurs back four, but I'm just interested in the reasons that Spurs are as patchy, as streaky. Streaky's probably not even right. It's game on, game off, isn't it?
I know, it's just like, what was that stat you gave, Kels? They either winning by a few goals or they do.
All of their defeats have been by 1 goal. 5 of their 6 wins have been by 3 or more goals.
So when they're good,
they're great.
When they're very, very good.
But
when
like,
they're bad, they're horrible.
again, you know, I'm not. Everybody gets injuries, and it's a massive worry. Even seeing Van der Ven and Romero starting, you know, you kind of feel, well, it feels like he's taking a bit of a chance, especially if they're going to play the high line and Van der Ven's going to have to be chasing Jackson. I was more worried for him because he was only meant to play 70 minutes, and in the end he got tight. He came off, but Romero's injury happened really early when he tried that little back flick. But I do feel for them because they get to a certain place, Tottenham, and then it just seems to it just falls apart at the seams for some reason. You know, you look at the control of the midfield. There wasn't really any control of the midfield in the way that they were going to try and play through Chelsea. And this is why, even when they went 2-0 up, we know they've got the individual ability with players, with pace with Brennan Johnson, with Kulusevski. Surprised to not see Maddison. The endeavour of someone like Solanke. So you just feel like for them to be able to link the midfield up with the forward so they can get control to make Chelsea go on the back foot, they just don't seem to have it. So even when it was 2-0, you think at some stage Chelsea are going to come into this game because there's no one in the Tottenham side that can get their foot on the ball and then play through Chelsea. And then you feel for them again because of the injuries. You feel for them because even when they went 2-0 up, you didn't feel like Tottenham were going to win it. But at the same time, they still kept going and trying to do what he wants them to do.
Casi a producto nuevo por semana, producto bonito que, por supuesto, pues siempre invitamos a la gente a que consuma. Si queréis encontrarlo en kingsleague.pro, pues ahí tenéis las nuevas chaquetas training y también esas camisetas especiales con detalles dorados que llevan todos los equipos.
Oye, ustedes tendrán más memoria que yo, pero ¿cuánto quedaron la última vez que se enfrentaron ellos?
3-4 ganó 1K.
3-4.
En el histórico de estos dos equipos, el que gane desempata, porque han ganado 2. El X-Buyer Team ha ganado 2. 1.
Becker se lleva el rebote. Becker para marcar. Becker. El rechazo de Arnaldo.
¡Vamos! ¡Vamos!
¡Gol!
¡Vamos, Pablo! ¡Qué suerte!
Mascarra en el Cooper Arena. Gol de Pablo Becker.
No será capaz, ¿no? ¡No será capaz! ¡Qué cabrón! ¡Qué cabrón!
A ver
si sacan más de 3, se quedan sin trabajo. Mira, muy bien. ¿Cómo valoran el trabajo? Bien.
Ahí está ese ataque por parte del X-Buyer Team. El toque dentro de Becker. Puede marcar Carbó. ¡Gol! ¡Gol! Quiere poner el centro por delante, finalmente lo pone por detrás del defensor. Carbó la pista, Carbó.
¡No jodas!
¡Madre mía! ¡Es que es el mejor de esta puta competición!
¡Por algo es el Corona de Oro! China la juega atrás, no se decidió a tirar. Granero busca su perfil, Granero.
Golazo.
¡Gol! ¡De 1K! Marca Granero. Y sí, otra vez lo ha vuelto a hacer. Buller, mira, no,
gol doble. Gol doble, claro, porque tiene sanción. Ah, claro, vale.
Sanción, efectivamente. Grande. Claro que sí. Bueno, sinceridad ante todo. Ahí está. Juanma el toque. ¡Gol!
Vale.
¡Velilla! ¡Gol! Balón que lleva ahí Pluvins el disparo. ¡Gol!
Vale.
¡Gol!
Me gusta.
Está haciendo un buen trabajo defensivo, ojo.
¡Granero!
¡Qué golazo!
que la metió en la escuadra. Ojo ahora que ataca el X Buyer Team. ¡Gol! Va a pegar Fuad en la falta.
Santa madre de Dios. Sí,
vamos a ver ahí esa pelota dentro del área para Juanma, que lo puede matar. ¡Gol!
2 de Juanma.
Sí, no podía ser otro que Roger Carbón. No sé si te imaginabas que tu vuelta iba a ser de esta manera.
La verdad que no, o sea, ha sido la vuelta ideal. Hat-trick, partido de octavos y mañana jugamos cuartos, o sea, ha sido ideal. Aunque el trabajo no, o sea, me lo llevo yo, pero el trabajo es de todos. Hemos trabajado mucho y al final los resultados se han visto reflejados en el campo, así que muy contento.
Parecía o puede parecer que sois el rival más débil por todas las bajas, pero en los pasillos se comenta que nadie quiere enfrentarse a vosotros.
Bueno, a ver, yo escuché una persona que dijo de Gigantes que quería enfrentarse a nosotros, así que mañana a las 9 no te preocupes, que estaremos aquí con muchas ganas, y más después de esas declaraciones. ¿Sabes por quién voy?
Yo no lo sé quién es.
No lo voy a decir, esta persona lo sabe.
Bueno, pues enhorabuena.
Muchas gracias.